but Joe Biden's record with regard to the things that he's accomplished, I think will stand the test of time. Now, what my dear friend Scott and others will talk about, and quite frankly, I'm going to say this, on it, rightfully so, it was very disturbing to learn late in the year about just how how poor his health has become. And like many, I did not realize that it had gotten to that point. That being said, I think he's still, look, he showed up for the job. He got the work done. I think some of the accomplishments also in the Middle East and foreign policy will also stand the test of time.
You think the Middle East is in better shape today than when he took office?
Well, I think he got our hostages home. I think that's a big deal. I think it's important.
I'm sorry, which hostages?
He's gotten a number of people home. He was able.
There's still 100 people over there.
Well, there were more than
including some Americans. Look, I think he's gonna leave office in disgrace. The Hunter Biden pardon was disgraceful. He's going to be remembered largely for inflation and for the disastrous Afghanistan pullout. And I think as we continue to, we're just getting the first draft of this now, but as we continue to learn about the massive cover-up that went on, not about his health, but about his mental acuity, to cover that up, the efforts that were undertaken by the White House staff, by his family, not in the last couple of months, but for all 4 years, I think it's going to be a really ugly chapter. It's a diminished presidency because of it. And I think we still don't know the full extent of what they did to try to hide what they've been doing over in the West Wing.
So I got a lot of news to cover, so I'm just going to get right into it. Biden said he would have beaten Donald Trump in an election. Biden, who has shown mental decline, dropped out of the race after a dismal debate performance against Trump, suggested that he would be able to beat Donald Trump. Do you guys believe that? The man who Kamala Harris, the reason why many people believe Kamala Harris lost was because she was too closely tied to Biden. And Biden himself think he would be able to beat Donald Trump in an election. Does this guy live in reality? And this is some of the arguments that I always talk about when I come across Democrats' framing of events. They always frame things like, oh my God, I remember all the left-wing persons, and this is getting back to my point about the Tim Pool debate. I know I've been hampering on this a lot, but liberals have a very strong imagination. This has been my number one argument. Liberals, leftists tend to live in the world of their own imagination. They imagine that Joe Biden was going to go up there and mollywop Donald Trump on the debate stage, and what happened? The exact opposite will happen. Many times, right-wing people, right? Because this is what the left accuse right-wingers of. Right-wingers are spin. They're just doing a bunch of spin jobs. Look how they spin this. They're so liars, right? This is leftists projecting as usual. When conservatives were pointing out, Biden's not in good mental health. Look at all these flubs that Joe Biden is doing on stage. Look how he's messing up. Joe Biden is not mentally fit to be president. Majority of Americans believe this. Majority of Americans believe that Joe Biden wasn't mentally fit even before the primaries in the 2023. Many Democrats felt that they should have gotten a new presidential nominee. But what did the mainstream media did? They gaslight you. They're saying he's in perfect mental health. He's healthy. He's fine. All right? They gaslight you, make you seem like, oh, you're conspiracy theories, you believe in cheap fakes. Gaslighted you, right? And I want to show you this clip because it goes to show when you're too trusting of the mainstream media, when you don't question these people who are presumed to be in authority, you get caught blindsided. Here's a clip of reporters coming together for their reflection, and they're talking about what was the most underreported story of 2024. And I don't think many people will be surprised with their answers. Let's take a look.
One of the things we also do in the year-end correspondence roundtable is dig into what was undercovered or underreported. Jan?
Undercovered, underreported. That would be, to me, Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline that became undeniable in the televised debate.
At the presidential debate with Donald Trump.
Unquestioned. And, it's starting to emerge now that his advisors kind of managed his limitations. It's been reported in the Wall Street Journal for 4 years, and yet he insisted that he could still run for president. We should have much more forcefully questioned whether he was fit for office for another 4 years, which could have led to a primary for the Democrats. It could have changed the scope of the entire election. Yet Still, incredibly, we read in the Washington Post that his advisors are saying that he regrets that he dropped out of the race. That he thinks he could have beaten Trump. And I think that is either delusional or they're gaslighting.
President
American
Biden
people.
has said repeatedly he was sick during the debate June 27th in Atlanta, and he's always been fine, and he leaves fine. That is his position, the position of many of his top aides as well, even though there is that reporting.
Robert Costa.
Journal interview.
I think the number one question after seeing that clip is, why was it underreported? Could it have something to do with the fact that only 3.4% of journalists are Republicans, so only 3.4% of an industry had any interest in confirming whether Joe Biden was truly mentally unfit for presidency or not? And this is the problem that I have with the left, is that when they're caught on the wrong side of the facts, they don't seem very curious to find out if what is being stated is true or false. They rather leave it in vague ambiguity than to actually dig deep and to get some type of confirmation on what is the reality of their candidate until it was too late and it was blatantly in their face. And as you saw, as they reflect, they're saying this could have been a whole different election. Could have, but it wasn't. Because y'all sat there and y'all thought y'all knew what was best. Y'all thought y'all were the arbiters of truth. When Americans, if you look at the polling, like all you have to do is look at the polling. Majority of Americans already thought Joe Biden was mentally unfit for president. It was you people who were trying to run defense for Joe Biden's legacy. And this is something I always notice on these left-wing networks. And here on this segment, I want to react in real time with you all about them trying to kind of, play defense for Joe Biden. And this is something that I always accuse the journalists of doing. Journalists since 2018 has been known as the most leftist, liberal profession in America, in the U.S. Journalism is the most liberal profession. So in my estimation, in my view, I know you're covering this very politically biased. There's a bound of probabilities you're not covering this objectively. And you're going to see what happens when there's more than two Republicans. Because this is my biggest criticism of Abby Phillps' show, is that she always have Scott Jennings by himself, or she always packs the panelists with more liberal-leaning panelists than right-wing leaning panelists. When Scott Jennings get help, you get clips like this. So let's take a look.
I am still waiting.
Speculative?
After 4 years of Donald Trump.
Did money not change hands?
Scott.
Did it not?
4 years of Donald Trump, 4 years of a Joe Biden DOJ looking into these very things. I'm still waiting to see.
Well, he can't be charged. He's the president.
Right? I'm
Joe
still
Biden
waiting.
can't be charged.
I'm not talking about charges. I'm still
I will
waiting to
just
see
tell
the
you.
proof of Joe Biden enriching himself. I take his brother and his son, perhaps.
I'll give you
but that is,
the
I think that is yet to
direct line.
materialize. Otherwise,
I'll give you the
your
direct line.
colleague, James Comer, could have produced the evidence, and he didn't.
He did. A Chinese company transferred money to a shell company owned by Hunter and Jim Biden that then transferred money directly to Jim and Sarah Biden's shell company that then transferred the money to Jim and Sarah's personal account, who then immediately wrote a check for $40,000 to Joe Biden. So to say that there was no evidence, to say there was no evidence is not true. It's not true.
What I'm saying is that Trump was president for 4 years. He wanted to charge Joe Biden. Why did the charges not come? And I think that still remains an open question. If there is something illegal happening here, there should be charges on the basis of what you're saying, and there have not been.
Well, he just pardoned Hunter
that is
for an
that is
11-year
fact.
time
He
period.
pardoned Hunter Biden.
So this is going to be Joe Biden's legacy, right? Right? People, Democrats are here. They politicized the DOJ. Then when Trump's in power, now they don't want let's stop these political attacks. Let's not use lawfare to go after. They always want their rivals to be a bigger person than they are. And then all I ask is, hey, let Republicans do what Democrats are allowed to do. That's all I ask. Two-way street. That's all we ask. And it always seems this disingenuous, like she never will defend Trump like this. They never want to play the defense game with Donald Trump. And this is the problem that I've been highlighting here. Is that when they find evidence, hey, look, you can say, oh, that don't really prove anything. That's just a coincidence. But it opens the door to like, yo, we should be investigating this. We should be looking more closely to this. And to pretend, oh, there's no evidence. Look at the smile. Oh, there's no evidence. This is what I'm talking about. The same thing what happened with Biden's mentally unfit. People say, yo, Biden looks mentally unfit to be president. We need a new candidate. Majority of Democrats voters, by the way, majority of Democratic voters were saying, we need a new nominee. Why? What's the number one reason? Joe Biden's too old. Joe Biden's too mentally unfit to be president. And y'all did the same thing you're doing now, Abby Phillps. Oh, there's no evidence suggesting that Joe Biden is mentally unfit. And then people show clips. This looks concerning. This looks worrying. I can't trust Joe Biden if he's portraying himself like that. And Joe Biden still has the goal. He still has this belief that he would have beat Donald Trump. Make that make sense. And look how you're gonna see how quickly she abruptly ends the segment because she don't want to further dive deep into this stuff. And this is one of the reasons why certain stories get underreported until it becomes so big or some event happens that they can't spin it anymore. And this is what happens. This is reality of politics. It's not about solutions. It's not about trying to find the source, the truth, the reality of things. It's about how well you can portray a framing. And at least when I give you my view on things, I try to give you some evidence. Hey, look, this stuff happened. Did this stuff happen or not? If it did, shouldn't we look at this or not? Instead of liberals trying to play this game of downplaying, dismissing, and if downplaying and dismissing don't work, they try to label you some negative connotation so people don't take you seriously. I'm tired of these. I'm tired of these tactics from the left.
11-year time
He
period.
just wiped the slate.
Hang on, guys. Hang on, guys.
Jim will be next, by the way.
We're waiting for the charges, and when the charges come, we'll have a conversation about that.
Yeah, deflection. Oh yeah, when the charges come, right? But then James Raskins, I just showed you in my last clip, are making attempts not to allow Donald Trump to be able to use the DOJ to press charges on Joe Biden, even though Joe Biden was the first one to create the precedent of charging former presidents. You think they're going to let Trump do that same thing? Okay, let's charge Joe Biden for this stuff now. Let's go investigate into Joe Biden right now. Y'all come out and y'all be saying the exact same stuff we're saying. Oh, it's political prosecution. But my question will always be, who started it, though? Who started it? Democrats started it. Like, CNN tries to make an issue about how much it will cost to deport illegals under Tom Homan and Trump's plan. They quickly reminded of all the handout illegals get in America and how many lives they have cost, right? And this is going back to my framing about the media. The media is the problem. You guys run defense for Joe Biden, his legacy. Here's all the problems that Joe Biden lost on. The economy, inflation, the Afghanistan foreign policy. Look at the wars. People were emboldened to start wars and attacking Israel, attacking Ukraine because they felt, hey, they were opportunistic and say, hey, yo, we can take advantage of this. We can take advantage of Joe Biden's weakness. And Joe Biden still is delusional enough to think that he would have beat Donald Trump. No way in hell you would have beat Donald Trump. If Biden had stayed in the race, he would have got the same slacking that Kamala just got. And who Democrats got to blame? No one but themselves, because they're not willing to look at themselves. And this is the main argument I have. Right-wingers, Republicans, conservatives, we're able to call each other out on our stuff that we believe is fundamentally opposing our views. But on the left, they all walk in lockstep and pretend that, oh yeah, we know how to govern, right? This fake unity that the Democrats like to pretend they are, even though they got different fractions, different belief systems. And if you disagree with Democrats, even 5%, you get what I got in my comment section. And this is for YouTube, not Rumble. I forget that I also put videos on Rumble. Rumble audience, you may be confused about what I'm talking about. But if you look on my YouTube channel, you'll see in the comment section of my Tim Pool video, you'll see how the Democrats attack you when you disagree with them 5%. 50%. You see how they attack you. And this is the kind of tactics that they use to gaslight you into agreeing with them. But when you don't get actually rattled by these people, you sit there and ask honestly, okay, why do you believe the things you believe? They can't give you an answer. But they know for sure Republicans, their way of doing things is bad. And I'm going to use this as an example because they want to talk about the price tag of mass deportation, but they don't want to talk about the price tag of keeping these illegals in this country. And this segment will highlight exactly the problem with why the things that's going on with the Democrats with Joe Biden was underreported in the first place, because they do stuff like this.
One of the things I've heard him give a lot of interviews, and I know he understands the problem that they want to solve, but he doesn't seem to have a sense of the scope of what it's going to take, what it's going to cost. And that's a critical question.
I actually had a meeting with Tom Homan the other day, along with a number of my colleagues, and we talked about this very issue. Look, it's already costing states like New York billions of dollars of taxpayer money to provide free housing, clothing, food, education, and health care to illegal immigrants. Then you have the situation where you have criminal aliens committing violent crimes, just as we saw a woman being burned alive on a subway by a man who was previously deported and then came back into the United States illegally. The fact is,
this is Joe Biden's legacy, but y'all want to keep pretending, oh, he's the best president ever. No, he's not. According to some polls, many Americans agree that Joe Biden is the worst president in modern history. According to polls, look at the poll numbers. Look at his approval ratings. I think it's in the 20% centiles. Worse than Trump ever was. And the liberal left, the leftists will still sit here and try to portray that Donald Trump is the worst president. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Is that what Tom Homan is going to do is start the process of deporting criminal aliens out of the United States. And sanctuary states and cities like New York need to cooperate. This idea that you're going to violate federal immigration law, that you're going to use taxpayer money to provide all of these free things. By the way, while Kathy Hochul in New York is charging New Yorkers $2,500 just for the privilege of driving to work in Midtown Manhattan. It's a joke. This is the stuff that needs to stop. So, yes, there is a price tag. Yes, it's going to cost money. But the reality is we cannot continue to have this massive influx of illegal immigrants coming into the country. Since Joe Biden took office, over 10.5 million people. That's unsustainable, and it's costing us billions of dollars.
And they already trying to make excuses for it. But this is the problem, right? They want to wonder why was it they never want to ask them why was it underreported? Could it be something with liberal Democrat bias in journalism? Could it be a problem that conservative journalists are an endangered species in the journalist industry? Could that have a problem? Does that have an issue of why the Joe Biden stuff was underreported? Why certain things were underreported? Why people have to feel the cost of all this illegal immigration, all the high rates of crime that's been going on? Well, you just mentioned in New York, a woman got burned alive from a guy that was previously deported under the Trump administration, but he was allowed to come back. Why? Because Joe Biden and his border policy was too loose. Wasn't investigating people who were coming over the border. But leftists will dismiss that issue and those problems, and they want to only highlight what's going on the Republican side. They want to focus on what's going on with the H1B1 stuff, the debate that's going on in the right. The right's having a debate about this, but the left, they never seem to want to have an open debate about nothing. Because Democrats are the one that are occultists. They're the ones that walk in lockstep with each other. And seeing all these issues, seeing all the problems, and seeing the fact that they go so hard at defending Joe Biden just proves it even more. But I'll leave it off at there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd like to hear what you guys are thinking in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.